Hi, my name is Deana Forsyth and I'm 48 years old. I work in the labs at Sellafield and I've been asked by the Primary Business Partnership to tell you a little bit about myself and the choices and decisions I made throughout my school career and throughout my working life that have led me to where I am now today. So I'm not from Cumbria. I went to school in Cardiff, which is the capital of Wales. And when I was at school, I really wanted to be a teacher. And I think that the reason I wanted to be a teacher was because it was familiar. I can also remember feeling really worried because it seemed like most of the girls in my class also wanted to be teachers. And I thought, there's not going to be a job for me. And I knew that there were other jobs that people could do, but that was what I had decided I wanted to be when I was older. I met my best friend at primary school, and we're still very close today, and we still see each other. And I did enjoy school. I found it hard at times, but overall, it was a good time for me. The one thing that I didn't enjoy was sports day. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So I then went on to secondary school and I still wanted to be a teacher, but I decided that I wanted to specialise and be a history teacher because I absolutely loved history. And one of the biggest people that influenced that decision for me was my history teacher, Mr. John. And I used to love going into his lessons, and to me it was like a story. I was being told a story. I was being told about battles, about Tudor kings that married six different women. Do you know who that Tudor king was? Henry VIII. As I went through secondary school, I decided that I wanted to be an archaeologist. And to be an archaeologist, one of the subjects that I had to choose was chemistry. Not my favourite, but I thought, well, if I want to be an archaeologist, I'm going to have to do this because scientific techniques are important in archaeology, like carbon dating, to find out how old things are. So I did my GCSEs and started my A-levels, and not too far into my A-levels, I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore, and I left and I got a job as an admin assistant working at Wimpy Laboratories. So while I was at Wimpy, part of my job was to work in the office and help out the secretary, and the other part of my job was to help in the lab, and that help was me washing up volumetric flasks, conical flasks and beakers, and I was very good at that job because as I was growing up, that was my job in the house, was to wash the dishes after tea. But as time went on, I became more involved with what they were doing in the lab. So I would get to go out on field trips and take water samples and soil samples and then bring them back to the lab and assist the chemist in analysing and preparing these samples. I started to spend more time in the lab and less time in the office, to a point where I got asked if I would go to work on a big project up at Sellafield. And it was a bit strange because I went from being and living in a city to quite a rural area. But I absolutely love Cumbria and I'm still living here now. I carried on with my career. I carried on working in the labs for Wimpy, and they put me through college and I got my chemistry qualifications. So I was working and learning at the same time. While I was doing my chemistry qualifications, the job I was working on was coming to an end. So I ended up moving back to Cardiff for a short period, and I really missed Cumbria, so I was applying for jobs back in Cumbria, and I eventually got a job at a chemical factory in Workington. I was there for a while and I would work shifts, and then I got the job at Sellafield in the labs, and I've been there for 18 years, and over time my skills have developed in the lab. But when I got to 39, I decided that I still loved history and I still wanted to do something with it. So I started an Open University degree, and it took me 5.5 years and 6 modules. But I got my history qualification, so I was really delighted. The skills that I learnt while I was doing my history qualification, I've been able to bring into what I'm doing now in the lab. Being a historian, you're being a you're being a detective, you're investigating things, and it's the same with chemistry. With what I'm doing now, I'm investigating these chemicals to try and find out what it is that they are. About 7 years ago, 2013, I did the Keswick to Barrow walk, which is a 40-mile walk, and I did it to raise money for a local charity. But I was really proud to do that, and obviously I couldn't just go out and do 40-mile walk. I had to do some training, and I've kept that training up to a point where I've now started to run. Even though I didn't like sports day when I was young, I'm doing sporty things now. If I was going to describe myself as an animal, I would say a chameleon. So chameleons can change colour to suit their environment, and I absolutely love different colours. And also, just because they change doesn't stop them being a chameleon. And I sort of think that the path I thought I was going to go on with history when I was at school, it changed slightly to the chemistry, but I've been able to bring the history back into it. So I'd like to say thank you so much for listening to me tell you about the path that I've took from school to where I am now. And I just wanted to end off by saying my favourite period in history is Roman history. And I'm sure you'll have all heard of Hadrian's Wall, which is a wall that stretches from the northwest right over to the northeast. And it had lots of different Roman forts along the way. So I'd like to end by asking you a question. What is your favourite period in history? Thank you. Bye.